All right, welcome to another episode. Today we have Ovi. He is a national leadership keynote speaker, author, and social entrepreneur. He's launched some very powerful projects like his app that generated over $5 million in scholarships for underprivileged students. And he's currently working on growing his speakers agency and leadership podcast. So, Ovi, welcome to the show.
Luis, it's a pleasure to be with you and ready to deliver as much value to your community, which is now our community. Love to be here.
Yeah, man. And so on that concept of community, we were talking about maybe what, 8, 9 years since we connected. So over the last almost a decade, right, of us kind of knowing each other from afar, how important has community played in your role as a speaker, as a father, and just all around?
Certainly. Well, in every profession, at some point, you tend to feel a little bit lonely and you need to stay connected with people. So I'm inspired by the things that I've seen you do, especially from the posts that you share on social media. So everyone, of course, chooses their own outlet where they connect. And I see you doing your thing, with your luminary mission. And so, to me, as a speaker that began speaking to youth and now speak to professionals on leadership in an inspirational tone, just looking at people like you and then now reconnecting again on this level, it's just amazing. After this interview, I'm going to be super pumped up to finish my next project. I'm currently finishing two books. I've already published six. And so I'm literally doing two at the same time. But that's how important community is. Even if it's a little bit from afar, you can still get that inspiration that, oh my God, he's doing this, he's doing this. I'm like, amazing. It feeds off that great energy.
Yeah, man, that's the thing that I've noticed as well. And so for you, you're working on a couple of projects. You've done some amazing things as well. How do you determine the direction of where you're going to take your business? Because for a lot of the audience members, they have a lot of ideas, they want to make a big impact and inspire a lot of people, but also they can get overwhelmed. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, oftentimes, right, you have to pivot because you may choose a direction and then things change. For me, because I speak in schools and the political climate right now isn't the most friendly to the education aspect of it based on budgets. And so they don't really have all the budgets that they used to have for professionals like myself who would come in and do consulting for students and teachers in terms of leadership. So now it's
Mhm.
like, okay, how can I leverage other people's experience and their past impact so that I can continue to make my business go, because we all have families to take care of, whether it's just us, we are our own family, or we have dependents on us. So now it's like, okay, build an agency. I've already spoken for 10 years just by myself, 50 plus conferences every year. So now it's like, now I have a group of people that I can represent. But make that change when you find in your own career that you found an obstacle. You got to be creative enough and take the action to see what happens after that. So far, it's been a great decision of mine.
I love that, man. And yeah, so pivots, getting creative. For you, how do you tap into that where it's very easy to fall into a pattern of panic or doubt or delay? And we kind of, because we have a lot of ideas, we say later or one day. What did it for you maybe in the beginning? And then what's doing it for you now to like actually take action on these ideas?
Well, as you know, in the beginning of anything is only, as they call it, ideation mode, where you don't really take the action. You just have the idea in the back of your head. Sometimes, as they say, it's in the oven, it's cooking. But then, as Tony Robbins would say, you've got to take massive action. And even marketing guru Alex Hormozy says, what keeps you motivated is results. So once I built the agency and began outreaching to all my past clientele, I figured that there was interest. And now you're like, okay, this is a good direction because they already heard me before, which is probably their thought process. Like, we already heard you before. What's new? And so for me, it's like, okay, let me do this change. But at the same time, you don't really know whether it's gonna work or not. So the only thing you have to do is try. And I know that from the things that I've learned from Tony Robbins, which I also know you also learned from him, and many other motivational aspects, is you have to. The main thing that comes up to me is you have to change your story. And so I always played out like, all of these things happened to me. Yeah, but what about now? I'm no longer that person that used to be suffering. Now I have power. Now I have personal power. I have intellectual IP, which is extremely valuable. So now what can I do with this? And with that is how the whole agency aspect came about, and
Wow.
the books and thinking about the clients first. If you put the
Yeah.
clients first, build something that they want, and then in return they will reciprocate by with value. You give them a product, they give you financial reward for it.
Absolutely. And so the thing with business is that sometimes because people are, let's say, struggling or they had ups and downs in their business, it's so easy to get in this state of mind or story of like, I don't know, and will it work? And all those stories. So for you, how powerful is faith in your life as an entrepreneur? And then how do you leverage faith and trust and belief to move forward?
Indeed. Well, as they say, when you have no more strength, you don't know how strong you are until the only option you have is to be strong. And so, but where would you get this strength from? And for most people, it's their religious beliefs. And I grew up in a certain religion, and then I converted to another one, and I converted to another one.
Mm.
And I take my kids to a church every Sunday now, so that they learn how important faith is the foundation where it won't let you break, and you have to stand for something, as Les Brown would say in some of his speeches. You have to stand for something, or you can fall for anything. And so therefore, when the most stressful times came, and then at that time, you like, some people call it meditation, some people call it time for reflection. Some people call it time for prayer, but the answers really lie within you and a higher power that may just shut an idea down straight to you. And now suddenly you're like, oh, I get it. I'm going to try this. And then it begins the trial and error period. And when it works, you're thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm glad that my faith got me to this point. And but it's just like a blend of spiritual aspect of it, and then the physical aspect of taking action, so you can
Yeah,
have some result that will happen from that.
right. Absolutely, because well, one of the great sayings is faith without works is dead, right? So from your perspective at this point, you've got the books, you've got the agency. What are some habits as a entrepreneur, as a leader, that you know if you do these habits every single day or every single week, you're gonna be in a good state to like move forward?
Yes, well, any entrepreneur, any professional in any setting, I remember a quote by one of the other speakers that ended up in saying, "Be ye renewed by the
Mm,
renewing of your mind."
yeah.
Right? And you talked about the faith without works. It doesn't say
Mm,
faith without work. It says works. And so therefore, the approach is, for me, that the habits, some people have like, oh, at 7, at 8, at 9, at
mm,
5, at 4, the 5 a.m. club or
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is. But truly is, as Tony Robbins would say, you have to do something whether you feel like it or not, because you have to tell your mind what to do. That's why he behind the stage does his incantations, because whether he is ready for it or not, he gets himself ready,
Mm,
right, to deliver whatever the people are expecting. So for
yes.
me, my habits are always keeping an open mind and continuously be learning. For the last 3 days, I have been studying organizational development and leadership and innovation, because 2 days prior to that, I used 5 different AI tools, and I use the research feature of each tool so they can go in depth, so that they can research everything about me. And my finished line of the prompt was, tell me how he's marketing himself, that tell me how he should be marketing himself, that he doesn't even know he's aware of, where where his most value lies. And
Wow.
this, and then the tools, all of them told me, and then I look at a pattern. These are the things that they're telling me that is the most valuable about me, that I'm not even marketing about. Now it's like you get to know the things that you don't know. And now bring awareness to yourself, and that habit of taking action on those things, so you become aware, so you keep control, so you take action on that,
Yeah.
I think brings massive transformation to yourself and to your business.
Absolutely, man. And so now we're starting to tap into that idea that habits can be structured, but also they can be foundational, fundamental, right? Like taking action, being resourceful, asking questions about like what am I doing that maybe I'm not even aware of, and then using tools. So with those tools, what are some of the most powerful resources beyond maybe some of those AI tools you mentioned that have also helped you tremendously over the last, few years as you're growing and expanding?
Well, without a doubt, even when you have all the tools, the most important resource of all is connecting with people. That's
Hmm.
number one, period, over everything else, because people will connect you with everything else that you need. Whatever we want, someone already has it that they could give it to us. Whether they can give it to us for free, sponsored, gifted, donated, or something, somebody already has it. And so the number one resource of everything, it's people's connection, authentic connection. Hence the idea for why I'm now working exclusively on um, on my podcast, because it allowed me for in 2 months to do 29 interviews to connect with people from Stanford, Google, Harvard, Yale, and all kinds of people who I would never have conversations with. But because they want to be interviewed, just like we're doing this interview now, it allows you the outlet, the avenue to connect with them and then continue the conversation farther. So that's the number one resource out of all the AI tools that you could use. Always
Hmm.
connect with people strategically, and then, of course, bring value to their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And the core of that too is this idea of like being willing and able to get out there, right? Because sometimes maybe we're the lone wolf, right? Or maybe we're in a stage of consciousness where we believe like I have to do this and like, right? Like I want to create this on my own and all that stuff. So, what should people believe? What's a foundational belief system for someone to say, "Hey, you used to be that way. That's your old story. Here's a new story." Like, what would you recommend?
When you ask me a question like that, what I think about right now is what I with the most fundamental things for me is what I ultimately ultimately teach to my kids. When I'm teaching to them, I know from my whole being, I say, I'm gonna teach you the most important thing you've got to know. And
Mm,
that most important thing is you have to ask for help from people. That is the most important thing. And then, however, you have to do it with discernment, because not everyone has the right type of help. Not everyone will help you in the way that you were expecting. Not everyone. So that is the most. If I'm teaching to my kid right now, and I've got three of them, I know I would want to teach them the most fundamental, and that is ask people for help, but use it with discernment. Who's the person at what time of the year, at what time in their life, at what point in life, all those things. So that would be the one thing message that I want to share with everyone right now. That is the thing that has gotten me from working in the sugarcane fields of Guatemala, growing up with no electricity, to having my own office on the 27th floor of Salesforce. I worked for Apple, Tesla, Salesforce, Uber in different roles. But that is the number one thing of all.
yes, and you kind of hinted at it, but we can go a bit deeper. Where does that come from? Was it a learned trait, or maybe to your point, your parents taught it to you, and then you are teaching it to your children, or how was that triggered inside of you to be open? Because I'll be honest, it's sometimes difficult for entrepreneurs because we're so creative and resourceful and we want to be successful. It's very difficult to raise our hand and put our ego aside and say, "Hey, I kind of need help with this."
Yes, indeed. Well, I grew up raised as a Latino Hispanic, which the cultural, I guess, image of us is, we're macho man, and I had to learn to ask for help when I fell into depression, which I actually didn't believe in depression, and in COVID, that's when I fell into depression, over $50,000 in credit card debt, all my contracts were canceled and everything, and so. Now, what that led me to was asking for help, asking for some therapy sessions. I got them for free. I also applied to my degree, my bachelor's degree. I got it for free. And mentorship. I've been mentored by executives. One of the past CEOs of Sprint, the mobile network, mentored me for free. And that's when I discovered through the aspect of networking, by asking for help, just like it's like praying. When you pray to God, as you say, God, I don't know anything else what to do, please. And so because God doesn't physically come down to you, he sends people, he sends you the idea. And so that is the main thing. You have to ask for help, and
Mm,
suddenly, boom, it's people call it magic, but I don't call it
yeah.
magic. I call it strategic. It's strategic. It's a
Mm,
very pragmatic thing that anyone can do.
absolutely, man. And it's interesting because it's actually easy to implement. It's not out of this world, right? It's pretty straightforward. But I wanna go a bit deeper. What did you have to let go of? And you maybe hinted at this ideology of the macho man or whatever, but what else, man? What else do you feel like shifted for you to say, I want to ask for help?
The main thing that shifted for me was one of the quotes. I love inspirational content. So one of the quotes that says, when you hit rock bottom, that's the best place to hit
Mhm.
because you have no other option but to go up. And so when you now need help, assistance, mentorship, coaching, guidance, you can label it whatever it is because NLP teaches you whatever label you give something is going to affect you in that way. And so for me, I had to let go of vergüenza, right? Like a shame. I was like, I'm not gonna feel ashamed anymore of asking for help. I'm gonna let go of pena, right? Like feeling shy about asking for help because I have no other option. And at this point, is you burnt your bridges, as Tony Robbins tells one of his stories, right? They burned the bridges, and now you gotta win because you burned the boat. And so at this point, your boat was not burned by your willingness, but your boat was burned because you don't have any other option. So it's already burnt for you. And now the only thing is you gotta do the work, which is, analogically the swimming and stuff like that. And so at this point is gotta ask for the help. So I let go of vergüenza, I let go of pena, and now I don't have pena of asking for help because I know I'm also giving you an opportunity to help me out, which is gonna make you feel great at the end. But the one thing I have done, Luis, is I always give you like a progress report, like every few months or so. I say, hey Luis, look, I'm doing this. Hey Luis, look, this is what happened after you helped me. Hey, always practice being grateful to people, and that is the one thing that I would say is like like that icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's true because it's challenging from the person who's giving the help in terms of the volume, right? It's going to be difficult to help everybody. That's why there's YouTube videos and content because and podcasts because we want to help as many people at once. But also you're right. It kind of is a gift for you to help somebody, right? For me to help somebody, and then it helps us feel impactful. So from your experience, can you share a situation where you went out of your way to help someone, and then what happened, or what's the story?
Man, absolutely. I have so many examples. I'll tell you a couple just briefly here. Um, you know, but probably 6, 7 years ago, a guy from Nicaragua who I worked with him in a warehouse offloading boxes when I did not know how to speak English when I was in high school. He saw my progress to learning English to get graduating high school. He brings his son, now a teenager, right? He's like 17 or so. So he tells his son, "Look, I've seen Ovi's progress. He went to school, he published books, but I saw him when he was quote unquote a nobody in society, right? Because we are all somebody. We're all very important. But in society norms, so he says, go to him. So I mentor this guy and I tell him, this here's what I need you to do. Do this, this, and this, and this. And then he went and did his own thing. He didn't do what I said. And then 3 years later, he reaches back to me and say, Ovi, I need another mentoring session with you. Can I meet you in person? So we met in person in Hayward, California.
Mhm.
And I told him, what have you done? He did this and this and this and this. I said, it looks like it didn't work out, right? No, it didn't work out. Okay, he said, no worries. Try doing this now. So he did exactly, I mean, almost word for word what I told him to do. Okay. He went to then work for Apple and he now works as an engineer for OpenAI. He's a young guy.
What?
He just had his kid. And probably like a month ago, he messaged me a picture of his kid. He has
Oh,
his own
wow.
little baby now. And we met with him probably 2 months ago prior to having his kid. And I met his wife. He married young and everything. Guy from Nicaragua, immigrant just like myself. But he's like, he gives me credit. I say, no, bro, you did the work. I just give you the
Mm,
direction, but you did the work. And I've got so many other, like
yeah.
there's other couple that I met before. The lady ended up working for LinkedIn. I met them when they were teenagers. The guy
Oh,
worked for Facebook, then for Google, and he's now working for Apple for 4 years.
wow, man,
Yeah,
that's powerful.
he drives an $80,000 Mercedes, and I told him, dude, now you should tell me what to do.
Right, right, yeah, man. And hey, it's full circle sometimes. But see, that's why I
Also,
love hearing these stories because it it's real and it's like we can all do this, right? Whether it's us giving the support and being open to it, but also us raising our hand and saying, hey, I need help with this. So, for people who are in that stage of life where maybe they are at rock bottom or maybe they're just fluctuating, they're not where they want to be. What would you recommend is the first thing to do for them to like snap out of it and then move in the direction of their goals? What's maybe that first step? What do you think it is?
okay. Well, as Hormozy says in some of his videos, Alex Hormozy mainly speaks about marketing, but he says sometimes you could do so much work that it would be it, you have to succeed because you're doing so much work. But the first step would be to plan out to go meet, I guess, the local chambers of commerce for the county, because in the county you have even more options to meet with people, whether online or offline. So that way is the network, right? The second thing that I would do for someone like rock bottom and whatever it is, and if you don't mind asking for help, I mean, there are so many county resources that help you out with rent, with credit repair, and things like that. SBDC, Small Business Development Center, they literally teach you from zero, from idea to getting funded by the government, and then most of them forgive you the loans for whatever business, but like any business, and they never charge you a single penny, right? So, and then the third thing that I would do, uh, I, I, I would spend as much time as I can with my loved ones. In this case, I do with my kids, because at the end of the day, nothing in this world matters to me more, not my business, not my books, nothing, than hugging my children.
Mm,
Nothing else has any meaning of value or value than if I don't have the ability to hug my children. So
yeah.
if that is the thing for you to hug that one person, then that, and if that one person is you in the mirror, well, that is you in the mirror, right?
Mm,
But those would be probably the three things that I would do. Of course, there are many more things like listening to more podcasts, listening to talks, listening to Tony Robbins, Maxwell, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, and many things. Many other strategic things like building a website, LinkedIn strategic connections, the other things like making flyers for your business. But the number one thing is you gotta take the number one step, which is go where more people are. That's the
mm,
number one step. If you hit rock
mm.
bottom, because they have what you need to get out of the rock bottom.
Yes, yes, and I love that because it's the people, right? It's about community, networking, connections. So, what keeps people from doing that, man? What do you think, or what have you experienced? What is it that gets in their way?
I think what gets on their way, it's what's instilled in us from we were younger. As I said earlier, I had to let go of vergüenza, which, and I say it in Spanish here to you, and I know this podcast is in English. Vergüenza is a shame, because if you tell me shame in English, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't trigger an emotion to me. But if you tell me vergüenza, it does
Mm,
mean something to
yeah.
me. If you curse me out right now in English, it doesn't do anything to me. But if you do it in Spanish, I may have to find out where you live, right? So that's I think people don't do it because they are still. I don't want to say this word, but I just can't find any other word better to truly emphasize what I mean to say is we don't have to be enslaved and
Mm,
chained to those things that has kept us from growth, and it's just keeping you from growth. I'll tell you a quick analogy for everyone that truly gets the message home. So I heard a story that truly impacted my life, where they had this humongous elephant in the circus, right? And this father comes with the little kid, and the kid's like, why the elephant doesn't escape the circus? It's a strong animal that's got power and everything. And the father, for an educational moment, takes his kid to the master of the animals, And they ask him, hey, how come this elephant doesn't escape? And the master says, well, you see, when the elephant is young, we go into the wilderness and it's little and we catch it. We catch it, but we bring it to the circus and we tie metal chain on the neck, right? And no matter how hard he tried his whole life to escape, he has never escaped. And now he's grown up to a point where even if we just put a little rope on the neck, he doesn't even try anymore. And he's not even tied out anymore. He's not tied down anymore. He can literally escape, but in his mind, he already accepted that if I feel any uncomfortable thing on my neck, like I won't even try because I've tried my entire life. So for me, it's like cuando sienta vergüenza de algo, when I feel shame because because my accent or whatever, because I need help because I'm a man and I should have it all together. No, man,
Mm,
I got no other option. Forget shame. Let go of the chains. I'm not an elephant. I'm actually a person with intellect, with decision making power. So I'm gonna use my voice and say, man, Luigi, man, look, it's been hard. To give me some advice, man. Give me some advice. Because people won't hand you $1,000 and you're not asking for a handout. But we definitely are doing ourselves a great service if we ask for a hand up
mhm.
and people will give it to you. The right person will.
I love that, man. It's so true. So then for people who are doing it, right? And then to your point, maybe there's this belief or a pattern where they ask for help but then they don't get the help. How should they ask for help? Because also sometimes maybe you've been on the receiving end where people do ask for help but it feels like they're entitled. It feels like you need to give them help because they just they're asking. So how should we ask for help?
Yes. Well, you ask for help first to the person who you think may have the solution. And of course, one of the things about self reliance, there's a whole book on self reliance, which is actually the name of the book, Self Reliance. So, with self reliance and self responsibility, because you don't want to feel like una carga para las personas, so you don't want to feel like
Right.
you're a burden to them. So, you ask for the help you're asking for is advice. I'm not gonna ask you right now, Luis. Look, I'm $10,000 short, and you're gonna be like, "What does that have to do with me, Ovi? I need this $10,000 for my own kid, right?" And so, therefore, the help that we're asking for is just advice, some solution, some idea, but to not feel like you are a carga for people, a burden for people. You have to be modest. You don't ask for, Luis, can we meet for 3 hours? No, you ask for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's what you ask for. And I'm not gonna ask you to come to Santa Rosa. You're 3 hours away from me because why would you make that drive? You know, I gotta meet you where you are. Or we could just do Zoom, so that way I even avoid from you having to leave your family to go to Starbucks just to meet with me because I need the help. Okay, what am I gonna offer to you, right? In this case, I can say, look, I could probably do this for you. There are so many things. What value? And if you don't have any value, the value is to say, look, I'm looking to do this because I also want to help other people after if I am able to get out of this one. But Luis, man, it would truly change my life. Like it would impact my life if I could just have 5 to 10 minutes. So you are modern with what you ask, right? You're asking just for advice. If you're asking for a connection, that would be probably on the third time that you meet a person. So that way they get to know your personality because people are not just going to recommend a random person. But when people feel entitled just because they have a direct connection with you, that's when, you as a person set out a whole calendar, which is what I did. I set up a calendar and you get to choose. You want to meet with me an hour? You got to pay. You want to meet with me 30 minutes? You got to pay. You want to meet with me 15 minutes? That one's free. So now I'm still giving you options, right? You still get a
Mhm.
free option. In those 15 minutes, you still get an idea from me because an idea can be sparked within 10 minutes. My mentor,
Yeah.
Victor Antonio, spoke with me for 10 minutes on 2018. In April of 2019, I was making my first $33,000 a month from speaking. And him and I only spoke 10 minutes on the phone just 8 months prior to that. So that would be some of the things to keep in mind for the person asking for help and for the people giving the mentorship,
Right.
the advice.
Yeah, that no, that's important because it just provides like an understanding, you know. It's something that I think we forget, especially in the online space, because it's normal to maybe just randomly DM someone. It's important to be considerate, you know, be
You got to
considerate
be
about
considerate.
like what am I doing, and then how could this possibly help the person? So then as you look ahead to 2026, what's next for you? I know you mentioned the books, I know you mentioned the agency. What's something that's like really exciting you at this point?
Well, the most exciting thing for me right now is I've been setting up my plan for my foundation. And I call it the First Click Foundation because now, as I think about others, I want to begin collecting funds from people who want to donate to foundations and then give their first laptop ever to people in villages like where I come from. Because they don't have, in the school that I went to, and I've been in the US 17 years, the students don't have laptops. They don't have a computer at the school. No one of them.
Mhm.
So I want to be the person that brings computers to villages, and that's why I call it the First Click Foundation. So that's the most
Mhm.
exciting thing in terms of work. But in terms of family, I'm looking forward to like getting my immigration status to a point where I can take my children every year to Guatemala. And on the personal level, that's the most exciting thing. And I've been tirelessly working on that for a whole year now.
Yeah, man, I know how that is as well. And the thing is, and you know this, right, is just to be on the path and, you know, have faith that things are working out and you're moving in the right direction, man. So I love that. As we start to wrap this up, what are some maybe parting thoughts? What else should people know about you in terms of what you believe in and what's really helped you succeed to the highest levels?
Parting thoughts for everyone is look, at the end of the day, everyone, no matter who, where we live, or where we send our kids, or where we work, is about the type of person, the quality of a person that you are. And some people like to cheat, lie, and be the wrong type of qualities, right? So it's important that we begin to teach our young children and their friends and whoever influences them about great leadership values. I found this is an antidote to today's society's problem. Whether you think about politics, whether you think about the music that plays out, yeah, you may be shaking your booty because you're an adult. But when you ultimately think about it, when you have your 7-year-old listening to that, you're like, yo, my children shouldn't be listening to like she is a B word or he is a pimp or what, you know, it
Yeah.
makes no sense. And so if you ever have complained about society's problems, all of us have the responsibility to raise a person of quality, but be the person of good quality so that
Mhm.
they know what to follow, the example they have it right there. And so man, that's my ultimate thought, man. It's not even about religion, it's not even about faith, it's about the quality of a person you are. Transparent, responsible, thinking about others, empathetic, sharp, intelligent, educated. There's so many qualities that you can add to yourself. And if we all did that, what a wonderful world this would be, as the song says, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's so true because we were talking earlier about just the journey and yeah, man, like when I think about my son and some of the things that he's learned and he's learning, it really just comes down to that notion of like I love that you said, you know, quality, building a quality person, you know, and also a big part of it too is awareness, right? So I think maybe even giving yourself credit, giving ourselves credit where it's like we're aware of these things. Like you caught yourself like, wait, what are these words saying? And do I even want to share that with my family, with my children? Whereas, unfortunately, sometimes a large percentage of, let's just say even us as entrepreneurs, we're unaware because maybe we're distracted, right? So maybe just one final question. How do we become aware? What needs to kind of like click for us to become aware of what's really going on?
Yes, well, I think the way that most people can become aware is really diving into self-help development books, like As a Man Thinketh, or Man's Search for Meaning, or of course famously known Think and Grow Rich, but The Laws of Success, you know, Outwitting the Devil, because it gives you ideas which are fundamentals. And yeah, you know, like they play the Super Bowl, and one of the songs of the Super Bowl is like, yeah, I've got 7 women, and you know, and we have fun and we do this. Okay, sure, it's got the rhythm and all. Now, if you have a daughter, you want her to have a guy that has 7 women? and gets in and
Right.
out at the hotel with your daughter,
Mm,
that's the ultimate reflection point because you don't care about it until it affects you directly.
yeah.
When your daughter turns 15 and it's her heart broken and all of that, you're like, no, I
Mm,
want a better world. But we have the power. So how do we do that? Not even, as I said, I mean, I take my kids to the church so they can
yeah.
learn moral values. And that's because I can teach moral values too. However,
Mhm.
sometimes our kids listen more to other people outside of our home than to us. So you got to balance this thing out. And I don't
Yes.
make it about religious because I don't even believe in religion itself, but I believe in the aspects of the moral values even if they are outside of a church. The church is not
Yeah.
needed, but those aspects. So that's how you do it with those books
Yeah,
and many
man.
others that I may not even be aware of.
100% no, and it's just the willingness too. I think another big point there is the willingness to learn, to like pause and say, wait, what's really going on right now? And then having that discernment. I think you brought that up earlier too. Having the
Yes.
discernment to say, how can I improve? Even that, right? I think that's fundamental. And I think that's probably the core of personal development or self-help. It's the help kind of theme that we've been circling, right?
Yep.
It's really just an acceptance of like, hey, I want help, not even need, but I want help. I want to grow. I want to be a better father or provider or a member of society, and it really stems from that. So I appreciate you, Ovi. Anything else, or how can people find you? I know we got Ovi Inspires here, but how else can people find you?
Without a doubt, any quick Google search, Ovi Vasquez. I say Ovi like Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? So I'm the positive force, right? And of course, at OV, that's O as in Oscar, V for Victor, inspires. And then on Instagram is number two because my accounts were hacked about a year ago. So that was I
Mm,
lost like 30,000 plus loyal followers there. But that's how people find me, and I love to connect. And yes, I have a calendar where I allow people to book a 15-minute call with me. A lot of people have helped me. So I don't think of it as paying it back, as people say, give back to the community. I'm not going to give back to nobody because I haven't taken anything from nobody, but I
mm,
sure will pay it forward.
mm. I love it, brother. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you, and thank you everybody else for
Hermano,
tuning in.
it's a pleasure.